Hi. Yes, welcome to yet another edition of Wow Ergonomics. And as you can see, well, you can't see if you're listening on the radio version of this, if you like. But if you're watching this live, you can see that we've got a nice new backdrop today, Stephen. Do you like the new colours?
It's a question of it's name that flag, isn't it? Really?
Well, no, it's just no. I don't know about a flag. This is just new colours. I just thought we'd go for a nice corporate blue along the top, which is probably more your kind of colour.
Yeah.
And obviously my colour, you know, on my LinkedIn profile and whatever is a nice yellow colour. So I thought we'd combine those two, the nice kind of blue that you like and the yellow that we like, and we come up with this. What do you think? I think it's nice and no, I don't think we'll stick with that. For some reason, it reminds me of something. I can't quite think what it is.
What is it?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, that's enough about that. I thought we'd come live from the pitch today.
Yeah.
Live from the pitch. Well, we won't mention the football. Oh, we have already. There you go.
You know, when you've got the pitch there, Graham, were we meant to enter this show sort of knee sliding in or something like that?
What sort of Harry Kane style?
Just
sort of like, oh,
yeah.
My daughter said that looks fun, Dad. Don't try it.
Yeah,
don't try that out in the garden. It will hurt.
It only works on very, very wet football grass. It works on when your garden's bone dry and you sort of dislocate your kneecap. It's like no.
Yeah, I wonder how many other kids suddenly had that thought. That looks fun, Dad. I'm going to go out in the garden and try that. Dad, my knees. They're all cut to shreds now. Yeah, well, there you go. There were some parties last night, definitely. Down my street, all the way down my street last night at a certain time. There was a rip-roaring rendition of "It's Coming Home, It's Coming," all the way down the road. Yeah, it was great. I don't know what they were talking about.
I was going to say,
so
they couldn't pick 8 o'clock on Saturday for the next game. I mean, from a retailer's perspective and a TV broadcaster's perspective, you couldn't have got any better than 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. It's going to be, you know, barbecues all afternoon and early evening. The supermarket shelves will be cleared of all sorts of meat, bread and alcoholic products. And then I think it'll be, hopefully it'll be party central on Saturday. But I guess from a retailer's perspective, that is the time you want, isn't it? Saturday, prime time, hopefully a bit of nice weather in the afternoon. Could get messy, Graham.
Oh, I know. It could get messy, you know, especially at the back there. You know, it depends how solid we are in our performance. Do you know what? Someone did a poll on LinkedIn not that long ago about, you know, who's winning out of this or who's going to win in terms of the European Championships. And I said alcohol sales. That was my response. And I think I've been proved absolutely right. I think whoever actually goes on to win this, alcohol sales have definitely won the day. I mean, the following day in my supermarket, it was just emptying. All of the shelves were just emptying in terms of alcohol sales. It's just absolutely mad. Of course, especially with hospitality still not quite back to where it needs to be. You know, it just means that people are going into these shops and emptying them out. But there you go. But no, we won't focus on the football for too long because, you know, I'm sure people are sick to death of it. But we won! Yeah. All right. There we go. We've got that out of our system now. Yeah. And it was a great game. And the best bit for me of the whole televisual experience was when they showed the TV presenters going absolutely mad when the goal was scored. Was that the best bit for you? I mean, I just thought that was...
it was either that or the other one, Graham. That I don't know whether we can mention it because we were briefly discussing this off air. But was it okay to cheer when the camera panned to the young German child crying? I think it was okay, but I think to me that was the highlight. Yes, the supporters, but then you know I'm saying it and now I'm not sure it was right, but it was sort of a sort of moment of great humour, wasn't it, for the TV audience and the supporters to see one of the Germans upset? Because to be fair, it usually is us. So, the boot was on the other foot, as it were.
I think it's because it's a child, though.
Yeah, it's not right, is it?
From a paternal point of view. Look, at the end of the day, probably the argument there is that, TV shouldn't have picked on a child, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd been completely different if it had been some big
Angela Merkel, maybe in tears.
Yeah,
I mean, that would have been
funny, wouldn't it?
But isn't it interesting though, Graham? You say that, I mean, it started off as a light-hearted comment there, but then there was all these complaints from 2 weeks ago when Christian Eriksen had his problems on the pitch. And there's 6,500 complaints against the BBC for showing some of that situation going on. And what you just said there, it makes you think who's sort of editing and doing some of this. You'd think that was it really necessary to see that after everything that had been going on? So it's a light-hearted topic, but actually, who's looking at what's being shown? Is it appropriate? Are they? There's all this thing about, it's the host broadcaster. Well, who's the host broadcaster? Who is the person sort of sharing these shots?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, sorry to anybody that doesn't even like football or isn't remotely interested in football, or the fact that England won last night. Sorry about all of that, but we will get into the show today. Now, I've been doing some great polls this week. I have to say they've been going absolutely ballistic, and some of the subject matters have been tremendous. I mean, the news has just thrown me up some absolute wonderful things. The first one is I want to go with today's one, which has gone quite ballistic, which is flying cars.
Yeah. And not Harry Potter. That? I did. And I had instantly had an image of that car in Harry Potter that flies them from wherever it is down to Hogwarts. And that it's an old battered car, but clearly that wasn't what it was all about. So
no, flying cars.
Flying cars?
Yeah. No, we don't mean like old the flying squad with the police or anything like that. This is literally a sort of converted BMW.
Right.
Where the wings just go James Bond style, go out like that, and then it can just take off, and it's done 35 miles, and then landed again, which is mad. Now, someone put onto that post that they saw James May do it in one of his TV shows back in 2012, I think it was. So, but that was kind of not such a nice looking car, and it was a little bit kind of Heath Robinson, but this is obviously being touted as a commercial thing for the future. Flying cars, loads of people commenting, what an absolutely ridiculous idea. Other people going they'd love to do it, but there are concerns about the health and safety aspect of a flying car. Do we? The question to be asked here, I mean, it's certainly not something that a lot of people are going to be able to afford. I don't think.
No,
not for a long time. But it is interesting that we're still trying to get that kind of real hybrid vehicle.
See what you did there. See
what I did there. Real hybrid vehicle, a vehicle where, I mean, I'll tell you where it would be useful, Stephen, and you and I have both experienced that loads of times probably. It's on the motorway, that time of night, you see the queue happening before you, etc. You're going to get stuck in it for hours. Up in the air, off you go home. There you go.
Only problem is, Graham, if everyone else in front of you has got exactly the same flying car, and then the queue just moves into the air.
Well, this is the problem, I think, that people are saying and thinking about, which is how does that work in terms of regulations? Another person made the comment, how on earth do you ensure that? I mean, because what is it? Is it a car? Is it an aeroplane? What are you insuring there? Do presumably you have to have both a pilot's license and a driving license in order to have one of these vehicles. And what else is it going to crash into? The trouble is, are we filling the sky with too much stuff anyway? I mean, if you go back probably 12 months or so, it was drones, wasn't it? We were all talking about drones, and there were all of those accidents that were happening with drones. I mean, this is just another accident waiting to happen. You know, I'm sure Amazon are looking at this thinking, whoa, we could get a van in the air.
Yeah. Rubbing
You
their
know?
hands.
Yeah. This halfway down the motorway. Oh, no, don't worry. You know, in the air, and we can drop a delivery over there. It's absolutely perfect. I'm not sure about this one. Sometimes in life, maybe it's better to stick with planes being planes and cars being cars.
Yeah.
And maybe we've got enough stuff up there anyway. The other thing with this whole subject is the whole sustainability stroke environmental piece. Do we actually need more vehicles that are polluting the air? Probably not.
Not when you see the huge sort of drive that, I mean, announcements this week, haven't there, about Nissan up in Sunderland, gigabattery factories and all those sort of things going on. You think there's that much going on? We're focusing around electrifying cars. Do we really, should we not almost be doing one thing at a time? It almost seems a little bit folly that we're trying to run ahead with something else. Well, we haven't really addressed the existing problems that we've got around motor vehicles.
I think our world's becoming a world full of contradictions and sort of juxtapositions. Really, on the one hand, as you say, we spent the last 12 months all locked down, all sitting at home watching the environment come back into its own little thing. Whilst we haven't been flying around, while we haven't been driving anywhere, the government in this country are saying, in a very short period of time, really, that we should be heading towards electric cars. We shouldn't have that. We should make it illegal to buy a diesel car or a petrol car. Ultimately, we should be heading towards fewer cars on the road, etc. And then on the other hand, you've got people over here going, "Oh, actually, which put wings on cars and turn them into airplanes." Maybe this is actually where they're going with this. Maybe this is the stealth idea. Actually, if cars are planes, then actually that doesn't count. See what I mean then?
You cannot buy a diesel car. You can buy a diesel car plane, but you cannot buy a diesel car.
Exactly that. You see, that's clever. Let's turn that car into something else. Next, it will be car boats. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's not a car. It's a boat. But it just happens to go down the motorway at 80 miles an hour. So that's all right because it's actually a boat. Yeah, I can see where people are going with that. So anyway, it's an interesting conversation. I think those that are involved in sustainability and the environment amongst us will probably think that that's a no-no. Whether there's anything else that we can learn from that technology, I don't know. But clearly there's still a desire out there for us to venture into the skies. Musk is trying to do it, get us all to go to Mars. Some people just want us to go 35 miles in a car in the sky. There was just another thing.
A story broke today, Graham, about how a UK sort of space exploration company called OneWeb, I think it is, we're getting a $500 million investment piece. And you're thinking, this obsession, like we've just touched on, what we've gone through and what we're coming out of, and there's huge sums investing in space travel, and you're thinking, do you not realize we've got a lot of problems down here we need to sort out first before worrying about how to get off this planet? It's as you say, it's sort of a paradox, really, isn't it, from what we've gone through? We've all had our eyes open to all the benefits of less travel, more free time, etc., things we've touched on before. And now it's almost, as you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's almost people have just sort of full throttle. These sort of crazy flying cars, trips into space have come back on the agenda. And you're thinking, we've got so many more things we need to put right or focus on without trying to work out how we get BMWs off the ground and things like that.
Well, exactly. I think it goes a bit back to the conversation we were having with Tom Morley last week, which is that, are we a little bit scared that we're going to forget what we've just been through? Are we going to not learn from all of the mistakes that we'd made in the past? Are we not going to think about what we've learned and what we've gained out of this opportunity, if we see it as an opportunity? I mean, it's a tragic tragic moment in our history in the world, this whole COVID crisis, but it should be an opportunity as well. It should be an opportunity for mankind to look at this and say there were some things we learnt here because whatever it was, this disease has forced us to re-evaluate things, and we should learn. I mean, in respect to all of those people that actually died and are still dying from COVID, we should as a human race actually take this opportunity to learn from this and say, right, how do we actually make the earth a better place for everybody that's still around? And I don't know that some people are actually thinking with their heads properly at the moment. So there you go. That was flying cars. One of the other ones that really this was contentious took off was this mobile phones in schools.
Oh yeah.
My word, that was a pole and a half. I'll have a look.
How many? What were the? I was going to say, what were the numbers, Graham? And was it? Did it sort of polarize opinion, as it were? Not using a pun, but was it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just get the results of this so far up, and I will let you know.
Because there was quite a lot of commentary, wasn't there, from some of the teaching unions and heads saying, well, we've already got things in place. Why is the education secretary got to be in his bonnet about it? But then I thought, well, if it is all under control, why has he got his bee in a bonnet? There must be something about it that they're not particularly happy about. So.
Yeah, so about 35,000 people have had a look at this so far.
Right, wow.
All right. Should mobile phones be banned from schools altogether was the question.
Okay.
And so far, in terms of the answers, we've got yes at 33%, no at 18%, no, but not used in school during the school day, 48%, which
that was me.
Ultimately I think is the sensible thing from my point of view. Not sure 1%. 1% wasn't sure. There you go. But yeah, quite surprisingly, yes, 33% said they should be banned altogether. There's obviously, quite a lot of different opinions there. But the questions that were being sort of asked about this were, is this just something to deflect away from the greater issues around the fact that children have lost part of their education during the COVID crisis, etc. Let's not talk about that. Let's try and get onto an issue where we could actually potentially do something about it and have some control over it. But then, as you say, a lot of kickback from a lot of other school leaders, etc., saying, well, what school in their right mind has doesn't have some kind of control policy over mobile phones. Interesting conversation and comment from some people saying, actually, no, this is the wrong way of looking at it. Actually, we should really promote phones in school and actually get them used in the classroom. And that was a really interesting comment as well. Why are we not actually teaching more around phones? Personally, I think all of those views are quite valid. If someone's got a mobile phone in the school, surely we should be doing something about mobile phone culture. In terms of teaching, we should be teaching a little bit more about maybe what's really good to use on the phone, what a phone could be really useful for, but what the downsides of that are, not in a really negative way, but in a more of a positive way about how, what you can use the phone for. But think about your screen time. Now, this is an area where we can bring this back to ergonomics. Because a lot of people, in terms of their usage of a device during the day, we go on and on and on about laptops or, very few desktops these days or whatever, but surely that is the most used item on the planet by most people.
And you're doing this, aren't you?
Yeah.
Look, that's how people, lots and lots of multiple quick impacts on the thumbs, and no one puts the phone up like we talk about from an assessment perspective, going about the top of your monitor being level with your eye line and blah, 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 blah. But no one puts their phone up here, it's always down there, isn't it? So again, it's like you say, moving into the ergonomic field is actually how do we encourage better use of the phone? Should potentially, like you say, be an area we look at.
Well, I want to know, and people may throw out suggestions as they see this during the day, and come back to us on that. But how many people, when they use their mobile phone at work, they've got their monitor in a good position, etc. They've got their keyboard, they've got their mouse, they've got all of that nicely set up, etc. But something happens on the phone.
Yeah.
All right, and then back to this again. Right now, recently, I'm gonna chip in here. Recently, I have downloaded, because I do use the wonderful feature that is called WhatsApp for telephone messaging, whatever. I have downloaded WhatsApp on my desktop, so I no longer have to look at my phone to get my WhatsApp messages or respond to my WhatsApp or have telephone conversations or whatever on WhatsApp. When you message me, right, about the show and whatever, I don't sit there on my phone doing it. I do it on the monitor with my keyboard, with my mouse, etc. Okay,
so do you want to let us into this little secret, Graham? How we do it? Is it a
it's a downloadable application. You can now download WhatsApp for PC or Mac.
Wow.
Do you see? There you go. There is in a nutshell. There's one ergonomic way that you can improve that situation. Why are you sitting there doing this on your phone?
Yeah.
Right, on a hard surface with your thumbs, with your neck down, because you need to message someone, because you are using a messaging service which you think is predominantly a phone-based app. If that app is available on your PC, put it on your PC. Right, much better. There it is then, in full Technicolor on your screen. You can, and here's the other great thing about it. You send me, like you did just now. I'm not going to share the one that you sent me, right? It just
perfectly clean joke.
Yeah, I was just going to say, folks, what he sent me wasn't dirty or anything like that, but it's an in joke, and we don't want to share it with you. Right. But you send me a piece of collateral by WhatsApp, etc. Now I'm working on a marketing campaign, or I'm working on something on my desktop, etc. I don't have to then transfer that from the phone, put it onto a drive. I can just download it straight onto my desktop and work on it. See?
Do you know what I'll be doing as soon as this version of WoW Ergonomics finishes?
Yeah, downloading that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On your desktop, because it's genius, isn't it? It's absolutely.
How is this not known, or is it not known and I've not known about it?
Do you know what? This is one of these things where I think that people don't necessarily know enough. Yeah, but again, looking at the whole ergonomics piece, I think assessment companies and people that are involved in that process, and companies as well, full stop, need to find out a little bit more about what people are actually doing in their work processes, and they need to put someone on it to go, right, this is what IT guys really should be doing, not playing around with network cables and all of that sort of thing. Right. And ordering a 5 meter length cable rather than a 3.5, just because it gives them something to do for the afternoon. They should be investigating what people are actually doing and look into it to see are there better ways that could happen. And certainly from an ergonomics point of view, if you can run everything off your desktop, much better. For a start, I can use a proper keyboard. I can use proper mouse with that for the inputting, etc. It's a decent size on the screen, so I'm not squinting at it all day long.
Yeah,
I think this is important. But this goes back to the mobile phone thing in school. Maybe if you had proper teaching on some of these applications and how you can really use these applications, and then bring applications into into real life and the working life as well, then I don't know, maybe teaching children how kind of powerful that is in one way, in a positive way, not just the negative way, would be good. Yes, talk to them about the dangers. Yes, talk to them about, you know, stranger danger, if you like, on a phone, and you know what the issues could be there. Talk to them about cyber security, because, you know, I think loads of society don't know about cyber security properly. But teach them also about the positive things. Could be really useful. And there was I commented back on one of those comments about that actually, if you think about it, one of the issues about bringing phones into school and using phones in school with as part of the curriculum, if you like, is that actually, in the same way that there is a disparity between different parts of society in terms of other technologies, not everyone can afford a decent mobile phone.
Yeah.
But here's where we go with this. Maybe in the future, rather, this is going to be controversial, rather than phones being something that parents get kids and give them for school, school should have phones to give kids.
Oof.
Maybe
Hornet's nest.
Well, yeah, maybe. I'm just putting it out there that maybe you turn it around the other way, and then if the school actually controlled the phone, then you could control what's on it. You could control. You could actually look into what's going on those phones if you wanted to. So, you know, because one of the reasons that parents were saying, oh, but actually my child does need a phone in school, is so that they can contact home if there's an emergency or whatever, right? So don't take the phone away from the child. Just make that phone a school phone so that they can contact the parent, but it's a school phone. So you can't download naughty stuff on it. You can only download the school stuff on it. Maybe that's, I don't know. Hey, that's a real great topic, I thought.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you know, again, I just reading on some article this morning that, you know, and it was actually going along, it was saying along the lines of, it is sort of phone technology, etc., sort of bottoming out, plateauing, as it were. Is there actually any way you can go with some, you know, there's always little things you get extra, you know, I don't know, a few more pixels on a photo and all that sort of stuff. But actually, there is only so many places they can go with phone technology, isn't there? You know, what else can they keep adding to it that isn't, you know, because I look at it and thinking, well, what's not there now? What else can you bring me that's not there now? Yes, the apps themselves can be done, but the phone itself can only go so much further, can't it, really, before there isn't anything extra they can do?
Well, that's a very good point. You could stick wheels or wings on it.
Flying phones.
Going back to the first thing. Yeah. No, I mean it. Yeah, I think it has kind of reached that plateau. Maybe. I mean the only main driver and the main development now of the mobile phone is more to do with the apps that go onto it, I guess, rather than the phone technology itself. I mean, we've seen, I haven't actually physically seen one myself, but I've seen the adverts for it, the Samsung phones with the foldable screen technology, so that, I mean, basically it's a tablet, isn't it? But it's a phone. It's a phone, but it's a tablet. It's just one of those. Is it a
car? Is it a car? Is it a plane? Is it a phone?
It's one of those, what I call confusing bits of technology. It's there to confuse people. They don't really know whether they're buying a tablet or a phone, you know. And I can see probably the conversation when you go into the shop, you know, to buy it from the salesperson, and you go in and you go, I want one of those, you know, it's like a phone, but you fold it out and it's a tablet. And it's like, well, madam, wouldn't you prefer a phone and a tablet? We could sell you a phone and a tablet if you wanted to, and you could have, you know, you could have a twofer there. And it's like, no, I kind of want it like, you know, it does that, and I can fold it many ways. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of new. But other than that, and as you say, the camera getting better and better and better and better and better, to the point where, you know, no
one buys a camera.
No one buys a camera, which is actually not true, because people like my son still buy cameras because they can infinitely take much better photos than phones. Where else does it go, really? You're not going to improve the sound system on a phone without sticking like a, you know, a set of wave speaker on the front or something, you know. So
that goes against the whole design of a sleek, compact, small. So they're running out of ideas, really, aren't they? Not running out of ideas, but there's only so many places they can go more with the phone, isn't there, really?
Yeah. I think if you look in the evolution of the phone, there were certain step points that were really, you know, like FaceTiming. Yeah. Where suddenly, I can actually, it's not just voice anymore. It's face to face. You know, once we could do, like, I can look at you and have a telephone conversation. That was a massive point. The fact that you could work on the phone, that was a massive point.
Yeah.
Before that, I guess, going back before all of that, the fact that you could stick all your music on the phone, that was intrinsic to it. But those sort of blocks, those big chunks of development, suddenly have just sort of narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, haven't they, really? And small incremental improvements. But I mean, I always think, you know, again, sort of tying it back to sort of things we discussed about, you know, recycling, etc. Where I know there's big programs and initiatives to get phones back, but where do all these phones go? They don't all go back. So, you know, how many, a bit like, you know, 2 pence and 1 pence pieces in your house, how many, if you could get everyone in the world to empty all of their own old phones out, you know, what would that look like? You know, what happens to all of those old phones that aren't being used? Well, in answer to your question, Stephen, behind this sheet,
okay,
there's a warehouse. There's a
iPhone 3s
full of phones. Did you know what? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens to them. I'll ask next time I speak to him. I actually only spoke to him yesterday, but I will ask him again. I'll ask James Turin from the Turin Trust, because I know he takes laptops and you know, reconditions them and sends them off to the third world and whatever. So whether that's the same for phones as well, whether they're being utilised in that way, and you know, I'd love to think that someone's doing something, a bit like him or a bit like Sam with his office venture. I'd love to think that someone's doing something to stop it from going to landfill. If anybody knows where mobile phones go, that would be good. Oh, hang on. Someone's come up with what the next thing will be.
Okay.
Holograms. Of course. Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could be that. That seriously could be the next thing. I mean, I'm not sure whether holograms actually give anything, really. I mean, so what? You hold up your phone, it projects up like a holographic image of somebody talking to you.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. Save us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope. I mean, it's I'm not sure whether that's a good. That's probably, holograms is something that is probably being looked at. I'm not sure whether that brings the human race on further or not. But certainly, I think the subject of mobile phones in schools is an interesting one. Yet again, with the ergonomics piece, I'd love to think as part of that, we are teaching children about the fact that, you know, it does matter how you use devices all day long, you know, and that because that is important, you know. Do you remember years ago? You'll remember this because, you know, you're not as young as you look.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Years ago, they used to sell. Do you remember? They used to sell those things that used to stick to the back of handsets for phones, right? So that, you know, if you were doing that, it just like held it on your shoulder so that you could just like work like that. But we've lost all of that. You see, we've lost that kind of technology with mobile phones. Now, maybe that's a product that will come into the future. It's just something that holds your phone there. Maybe floating phones, so you don't actually have to hold it. You can just have it up by your ear
until someone pinches it as they walk past you.
Yeah, but actually, going back to what I said to you with the putting it through your desktop again, that's an important point of that. If you put it through your desktop, you've got the speaker system, you've got the microphone, etc. You don't actually have to sit there doing that.
So therefore, all this mobile phone technology sort of is getting reversed out, because it was all about getting things from the desktop and the laptop onto the phone. But actually, as you say, from an ergonomic perspective, some of those things need stuck in reverse gear and moved. Some of the things that have come on the phone actually need to be moved back to the desktop and the laptop and the whatever it would be from an ergonomic perspective.
Yeah, I think truly they must be, you know, and actually, you know, when you're looking at applications on the phone as well, should the application should it more intelligently push you back towards the desktop? So if you start a document in something like Word on your phone, should it get to a point where it goes, well, actually, hang on a minute, you've written, you know, 2 paragraphs here now, and I'm now going to try and find your desktop or your laptop to see whether it's in the vicinity, and if it is, I'm actually going to say, right, you need to carry on with this on your PC now, and actually throw that you've started working on there up onto your screen and go, right, do it on there, so that it's pushing the correct method of working, you know, because it's fine. Phones are very similar to laptops. Laptops were never, ever, get this, folks, laptops were never designed to be used all day long as laptops.
No,
that was never the intention. The whole point of a laptop is that you took it out with you, you whizzed it open, you did a little bit of work whilst you're out and about on it, you know, updated a data field or something, closed it again, went off to the next thing, or you took it out because you had your PowerPoint presentation on it, plugged it in, did your PowerPoint standing up and whatever, that was great, you know, put it back, went back to the office, worked again. But laptops have just become the computer of choice because it's portable. The trouble is that is also a computer now, and it's a working device of choice. I know people that write whole reports on that, you know, on a train, you know, I'm damn, I've lost it.
Yeah.
That's the only problem, because they're working in the cloud, but then 5G is coming to the tube, Stephen.
Is it?
Well, yeah, that's another subject. I'm going to put that in there very quickly. 5G. Here we go. 5G on the tube. Yeah, 5G apparently is coming to the tube now.
Right.
My only concern with that is that the tube becomes the biggest microwave in in the world,
or it becomes a mobile remote working office.
Yeah,
with people sat there on phones and laptops because they can get 5G and think, well, why bother getting off? I'll just sit on this and I'll just ride around London all day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That I sometimes think that in trying to create touch points everywhere for work, that's where we create the problems. You know,
too much accessibility.
Yeah, too much accessibility to tech and being accessible, right? It's not accessibility in the good sense of the word, it's accessible in the bad sense of the word. We are now accessible, you know. And actually, if you look at what the way cultures become, and the fact that there's so much prevalence in terms of you know, people talking about mental health and well-being, etc. now, where's that come from? Why, you know, haven't suddenly all become concern with mental health, and haven't also why now? And partly it's because I think it is because there is no switch off culture.
Yeah,
there's nowhere to turn off. I felt it in my life as I've progressed over the years through different jobs, and as technology's changed. Years ago, it used to be, that you would go, right, I'm out of the office now. Nobody's going to be able to contact me other than maybe by phone, but I'm driving. There's no way of putting the phone through the car. That didn't happen. So it's like, I'll stop in 2 hours time and I'll check to see whether anyone needs me. And you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of my first sales job where what you do, it was out on the road, and I worked for a company and we sold metal to the manufacturing sector. But just got a mobile phone after a couple of years there. I'm talking mid-90s, but you used to take a load of 10p's with you, pull over at the phone box, you'd ring and you'd ask, can you pass me around the office? Does Bob need me? Does Sheila need me? And you'd go round the office, you go, okay, I'll call back in at 3:30. And that was it. You didn't have anything. You weren't now that, things have developed since then, but that was actually how it used to work, and not actually that long ago.
Yeah. You see, and the trouble is, going back to ergonomics again, we're doing well actually, bringing everything back to ergonomics. Yeah. With things like, as you say, 5G on the tube, you're just going to get people going, well, do you know what? I can actually sit here and work. I can actually do proper work on here now that I've got a proper signal. I can connect into my cloud system here and whatever. I can actually, but there's the setup for that is not going to be right. I mean, sitting on one of those seats on the tube isn't comfortable in the first place, let alone trying to sit there properly with a laptop screen up here and whatever. That's never going to happen.
No.
Probably there in your face.
Next to someone's armpit.
Next to someone's, yeah. I was going to say something else, but yeah.
Okay.
But briefcase is what I was going to say.
Briefcase,
but yeah, I mean but it's for me, even beyond the ergonomic piece, it's the lack of escape. It's the lack of those moments in the day where someone can go, whew, that was a busy morning. I've got out the office. I've now got 20 minutes between this meeting and that, getting there, and then that meeting. I need to just de-stress from that, mentally prepare, get myself ready for what's coming next, etc. If you got no escape from that, then that's dangerous. And we've seen that actually with some of the home working. That is one of the reasons why some of the bigwigs are calling for people to go back to the office, is because actually they're quite scared about this mentality of people going from one Zoom, getting up early, going straight into one Zoom meeting, another, whatever. To me, I understand where their concern about that comes from. The problem really isn't the people working at home. The problem is the company culture.
Yeah.
Full stop. If you have meetings and expect people to come to them, then people will come to them. Until companies actually go, regardless of where people are working, regardless of whether it's in the office or at home or whatever, until people actually go, do you know what? It's okay for you not to work at this point in the day.
What would friend of the show Rory Berry say?
Take a beat. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, the whole thing that's gone on, and Rory was someone I was not connected to until probably 12 months ago. He really, and I mean this in a positive way, bangs that drum, doesn't he? He does some fantastic stuff on LinkedIn. If you don't know Rory Berry, connect with Rory Berry. He does some great stuff, just lunchtime images. He's clearly gone out and had a walk, whatever he's done, whether it's in the morning. And he that sort of thing is something that plays in my mind. His take a beat thing. It really is imperative. They're the things that people need to concentrate on, is to be able to take that break. And come away from the device, whatever it would be, and have that little sort of decompress. And yeah, you've got to go again at some point, but fitting that into your working day.
Well, I do wonder. I think if we don't actually start to take control of this and control of how accessible we make our staff and our teams, I think ultimately we'll cause a revolution. I think we'll cause a revolution where people actually say, no, enough's enough. We're actually gonna, we're gonna look for a counterculture here, that where we don't, we're gonna start not buying phones. We'll go back to let's find another way of communicating with each other, or let's, or I want a contract on my phone where I don't have this, so that I'm not available certain times of the day. And maybe, it'd be interesting to see where companies go with it. I think there's a lot of, as I say, lot of juxtaposition, polarity, and sort of dichotomy with that at the moment. And I think actually, some companies talk a really good talk on the one hand about health, well-being, culture, etc., but then on the other hand push their staff to death. And I think until people really lead the way with it, then it's, but I think to some extent, I think a revolution's coming. I think some people will have enough and say, right, that's not for me. Always love those programs with Ben Fogel.
Yeah.
Where people have left high society, if you like, or really well paid jobs, high pressure jobs in the city, very tech jobs quite often, surrounded by the pressure of day-to-day life, and they've just gone, do you know what, off grid, not interested in it anymore. That's the extreme. Surely there's somewhere in between that we can get to. That's a good place. Anyway, that's been a brilliant show. Look at that, we just
flew by.
Bang.
Shorter but sweeter today, Graham. A little bit shorter today because I've moved the time around, but we've covered a lot of good stuff there. Yeah.
So I think we covered some great stuff, and personally do think that this is a great colour scheme for us.
Will we have it on next week? On next week's show is the question.
Well, it depends who wins, doesn't it? Yeah. It depends who wins. I think. Look, at the end of the day, I think it's nice. I think it's nice for England that we've actually won something for once. So there we go. That's nice. But let's just let the whole of the UK just enjoy that for a minute.
Well, maybe not the whole of the UK, Graham.
Well, no, not the whole of
I can imagine there's three nations aren't particularly happy with last night's
result. The whole of England. Yeah. Enjoy that for a minute, and then let's see what happens next week. But very, very definitely, between now and next weekend, there will be this coming weekend, there will be an awful lot of alcohol sold in shops. So there we go. Until next week, folks, stay safe out there. Don't
load WhatsApp onto your PC or your laptop.
Do that, or if there are any other applications that we should be loading from a phone onto the desktop that you know about that we haven't spoken about today, do let us know on those as well, and maybe we can even compile them and put that information back out to people, because it's actually really quite interesting. But yeah, stay safe. Don't go in any flying cars. They're not overly tested yet, and just look after each other, and we'll see you again similar sort of time next week. We'll let you know what the time is before next week, so that you're all ready. But until then, have fun. Bye, folks.
I